do that sort of thing. I'm sorry. I say, before launching into any of my cantata, Latin plural for song, I should like to tell you a most amazing thing that happened to me only a few weeks ago in London, in Shaftesbury Avenue, as a matter of fact. I was walking up Shaftesbury Avenue. This is really extraordinary to show you how small the world is. I was walking up Shaftesbury Avenue and I saw a girl I thought I'd seen before. She was looking at the Pavilion Theatre. I don't know whether she wanted to be one of Cochran's young ladies or Hell's Angels. And I was on my dawn patrol and I saw her, and I didn't like to go straight up to her and say, "Excuse me, but are you the girl that I think you are?" I mean, I didn't want her to think I was always walking up and down Shaftesbury Avenue, so I passed her and I passed the long bar of the Trock with great difficulty, and I stood outside a shop which sold dresses, and there was one dress there, only one in the window, wound round a pole for a very thin lady, and there was a mirror behind, making it look as if the shop had two dresses. And this girl passed behind me, and I still didn't like to say anything. It's extraordinary. It will show you how small the world is. So I waited till she stopped outside a jeweller's shop, and she stood there. I don't know whether she wanted to sell or buy, and I thought, now is the opportunity for me to go up and see whether it is the girl that I think it is. This is extraordinary. You will laugh in a minute. So I said, now I'll go up and I'll say something very smart. So I went up to her and I said, "Excuse me, but could you tell me the time?" And she told me the time. She was wrong, by Jove, and Greenwich. And I looked at her very closely, and it wasn't the girl I thought it was at all. It just shows you, doesn't it, how small the world is. It might have been easily. I say, you do play marvelously. Do you file your nails when you play the piano?
Of course I file my nails. Don't you file yours?
No, I throw mine away. You know, I'm a chap who never grovels to obtain the latest novels from the library to which I still subscribe. I don't like Wallace or Sax Romer, but I'm quite at home with Homer. I prefer a classic jest to modern jive. For fellows who truly are rather peculiar don't run about nowadays. All true adventure is in the past centuries, and Romans and Greeks with the craze. And poor old Diogenes must have got Bogenes squashed in a tub, you see. For matters historical or allegorical always appeal to me. End of song, start of patter. Of course, Julius Caesar lived in those days, many years ago, in Rome. You know Rome, the place that Romulus and Remus built for Mussolini to keep the wolf from the door. Everybody in those days went about in night dresses. So Nero had the place burnt. He was an agent for a pajama firm. Well, Caesar, he won heaps of battles frightfully, and when he got back to Rome, having beaten the bitters, the Gauls, I mean, they wanted to make the old boy king, but he didn't like the idea at all, so they put a laurel wreath on his head, because he was as bald as a bat. Never saw such a damn-looking fool in your life. And he was walking like that one day, looking like a crowned egg, through the Afton, and not the Afton, the Forum, when he was met by a froth-blower, a chap, a soothsayer, I should say, a chap with a long beard, you know? Used to be a sporran until he had his face lifted. Well, he saw Caesar and he said, "Beware the Ides of March," which is the same as April the 1st is to us. But Caesar didn't mind much whether he was made in Ides of March hair or not, so he went, as usual, to the Houses of Parliament, and when he got into the porticum, Latin for foyer, he was met by Brutus, who was Under Secretary for Air or something, and Brutus made a signal with the mace and all the MPs came in and killed Caesar. He was annoyed. But as he was dying, he said, "Et tu, Brute," which means, "Oh, you dirty dog," and he collapsed on the floor of the House. And Mark Antony was a backbencher. He arrived very late. He hadn't had the whip, he deserved it. And he arrived and he saw this mess on the floor of the House, and he said, "This is indeed a business." And so it was. It was trickling all over the place by then. He said, "May I remove the board?" So Brutus said, "As quickly as you can." So he took it away to the marketplace, and he put the whole body of Julius Caesar on a whiskey and soda. On a beer, on a beer. And he turned around to anybody standing near, and he said, "Lend me your ears." Of course, they were all slaves that had their ears cut off and everything else. Anyway, he was very sarcastic then about Brutus and started a most incivil war, which he won. Brutus lost, and then he had a great time with Cleopatra, famous needlewoman, until she got fed up with it, you know, and she put an aspidistra in her bosom and it tickled her to death. Of course, she wasn't a Roman, you know. She was an Egyptian like Salome. You know Salome. Lady took off her clothes and danced in front of Harrods. Oh, matters historical or allegorical always appeal to me. Rather, I think I'll fade away now.